The prairie wind sang through the wheat fields that afternoon, a lonely hum beneath the vast Wild West sky. Dust rolled across the land in gold waves, curling around a single ranch that sat like a held breath between mountains and open horizon. Ethan Ward, 32, the widower of 3 winters, moved through his quiet house with the weight of a man who had learned to live without laughter. His boots scuffed wooden floors polished by years of pacing. His coat hung in the same place his late wife once did. The walls knew his silence. The kettle knew the shape of his solitude. That morning, a new sound joined his world. Hooves approaching from the dirt road, slow and uncertain. He stepped out, hat shadowing his eyes, and saw her. Grace Harper. 27. Widow. A stout woman with a face softened by sorrow, and the kind of strength that doesn't show in muscles but in endurance. Her brown dress stretched at the seams of her waist. Her hands clutched a carpetbag with fading flowers embroidered on its side. She dismounted awkwardly, brushing dust from her skirt, cheeks flushed pink from the ride. "I heard you're needin' a cook," she said, her voice gentle but steady. Ethan studied her a long moment, the wind tugging at the brim of his hat. He wasn't expecting someone her size, her kind of presence, so solid, so unpretending. He nodded toward the porch. "If you can keep the coffee strong and the biscuits soft, you'll do fine." Her eyes met his, unflinching. "I can do better than fine." And she did. By noon, the ranch smelled of cornbread and roasted herbs, scents that pulled memories out of places he'd buried. He ate quietly, spoon scraping the plate. She stood nearby, drying her hands on her apron, waiting for judgment like a schoolgirl waiting for her score. He set down his fork, cleared his throat. "Lady," he muttered, the faintest trace of dry humor in his voice. "Stay till I find a better cook than you." Her lips curved into a smile that caught him off guard. "Then I suppose I'll be here a while." He turned away too quickly, pretending to refill his cup. Her laughter, a small silvery sound, filled the kitchen. It startled him more than the thunder ever could. The days settled into a rhythm. Morning light spilled through the curtains. Grace was always up before dawn, humming to herself while she stirred porridge. Her humming filled the empty spaces that grief had hollowed. Ethan found himself listening from the barn, though he would never admit it. In town, whispers began. "The widower's got himself a big lady now," one said behind her fan. "She'll eat him out of his own barn." The men laughed. Grace heard them once, her cheeks reddening as she walked past the general store. She said nothing, just carried the flour sack tighter against her chest. When she returned, Ethan noticed her silence. She didn't hum that night. She didn't look him in the eyes. He didn't know how to ask, so he said nothing, but his stomach twisted as if the cornbread had turned to dust. Rain came 2 nights later. A hard, wild rain that slapped the windows and bent the old barn door backward. Ethan rushed out to secure the latch, only to find Grace already there in her shawl, hair soaked, fighting the storm with a stubbornness that startled him. "Get inside," he shouted over the wind. "The horses are spooked," she yelled back, her voice fierce, unafraid. Lightning tore the sky, bright enough to burn an image of her face into his mind. Mud-streaked, eyes bright, sleeves rolled to her elbows. When she slipped in the muck, he lunged forward, catching her by the waist. Her body hit his chest with a heavy thud, and for one long, impossible heartbeat, everything stopped. The rain, the wind, even the ache in his chest. He felt her heartbeat against his ribs, fast and real, like something alive returning to his world. He pulled her upright, breath trembling. "You could have been hurt." She looked up at him, raindrops sliding down her cheeks. "You could have let me fall." Neither moved. The storm crashed around them, but something else had broken open, something quiet and human. He didn't sleep that night. The scent of her lavender soap lingered in the hallway. The next morning, Grace worked without speaking, and Ethan found himself watching her too often. The curve of her shoulder, the steadiness in her movements. She wasn't delicate like the women in town. She was rooted, like she belonged to the earth itself. He wondered what her laughter would sound like if she were ever truly free of shame. By the following week, the gossip reached his ears. A man at the saloon leaned over his whiskey glass. "Heard you've got yourself company out there, Ward. Big woman, they say." Must keep you warm come winter. The laughter that followed was sharp, cruel. Ethan's hand tightened around his glass, but he said nothing. Just finished his drink and left. When he returned, Grace was on the porch, mending a shirt under the lamp. They talk, she said softly. You don't have to defend me. He stood there, rain-damp, throat tight. You heard them again. She nodded, eyes fixed on her stitching. It's not their words that hurt. It's how easily they forget we're human too. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. So he said the only thing he could. They're fools, Grace. Ain't a soul in this town got half your heart. She looked at him then, and something inside her eyes shifted. Gratitude, maybe, or disbelief. Either way, he knew he'd said the right thing. Days passed, but the air between them grew heavier, full of things neither dared to speak. Every glance felt like it held too much meaning. Every silence buzzed like lightning waiting for a strike. Then one morning, without warning, she packed her trunk. He found her at the door, bonnet tied, carpetbag ready. Where you headed? He asked, his voice sharper than he meant. You said I could stay till you found a better cook, she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Maybe it's time you try. He froze, hat in hand. You ain't serious. I've stayed long enough to make it easy for you to forget I was ever here. The words hit him harder than a bullet. She turned, walking down the muddy path. The sound of her boots sank deep into the earth. He didn't stop her. He didn't know how. But when she disappeared into the horizon's pale fog, he felt the house shrink behind him. The air lost its warmth. The humming stopped. For the first time in years, Ethan realized silence wasn't peace, it was punishment. Hours passed before he moved. When he did, it was sudden, violent. He saddled his horse, spurred into the open plains. The wind whipped his face, dust stinging his eyes. He found her wagon near the creek, stuck in the mud, the wheels sunk deep. She was alone, struggling to push it free. Grace! He shouted, dismounting, boots splashing through water. She turned, startled, eyes red from crying. What are you doing here? She demanded. He grabbed the wheel, pushed hard until the wagon rolled onto solid ground. Then he faced her, chest rising and falling like he'd ridden through hell itself. I came because I was a damn fool to let you leave. Her hands shook around the reins. You don't have to pity me, Mr. Ward. Pity? He stepped closer, water dripping from his coat. Grace, I told you to stay till I found a better cook. Truth is, I never will. Because it wasn't your cooking that kept this place alive. It was you. She blinked, disbelief softening into something like fear. Ethan. He swallowed, voice raw. I thought my heart was buried with her. Thought the ground had taken every feeling I had left. But then you came along, humming songs into empty rooms, and I remembered what warmth felt like. You made me remember I'm still alive. Her lip trembled. I'm not the kind of woman men look at twice. You know that. He stepped closer until the rain between them turned to mist. His hand lifted, rough palm brushing her cheek. You are what peace looks like, Grace. And peace is rarer than beauty. Tears filled her eyes, spilling freely now, her shoulders shaking. You don't mean that. I do, he whispered. Every word. For the first time, she didn't hide her face. She let the tears fall. She let him see the weight she'd carried. Every cruel word, every lonely night, every bit of doubt carved into her heart. And when he pulled her into his arms, it wasn't passion that bound them, but relief. Relief that someone had finally seen her. Not as a body, not as a servant, but as a soul. The storm eased, clouds parting above the plains. The setting sun broke through, washing the land in honey light. They stood there, two silhouettes against the fading gold, her head resting against his shoulder, his hand at the back of her neck, steady and sure. When they rode back, the ranch didn't look so lonely anymore. Smoke curled from the chimney like a welcome home. The kettle whistled again. Inside, laughter, soft, hesitant, rose between them, echoing off the walls that had once held only silence. And though the world outside would still talk, inside those walls, there was nothing left to prove. Only two people, learning that love can begin long after you've stopped believing in it. If you're still listening out there, remember, sometimes love arrives quiet, wrapped in patience, disguised as ordinary days. If this story touched you, share it with someone who still believes in gentle hearts. Drop a heart, leave a word, and tell us where in this wide world you're watching from. Because somewhere, under another sky, another lonely soul might just be waiting to be seen.